Welcome to Prime 9, the countdown show that covers the very best in baseball. Guaranteed to start arguments, not end them. This week it's the top 9 catchers of all time. Why 9? That's baseball. 9 players, 9 innings, Prime 9. Suppose we told you that one time there was a major league catcher who was a 3-time batting champion.
Line drive, base hit. Joe Mauer does it again.
That he had a lifetime .327 average, 2 gold gloves, and 1 year led the league in hitting, on base percentage, and slugging.
4 for 4 for Mauer.
All this while crouching behind the plate more than 100 games a season. How could such a talent not be in this Prime 9? Well, sorry, Joe, but one of our ground rules for this show is that you had to have caught 1,000 games in the major leagues. And Minnesota's wonder boy, Joe Mauer, was 393 short at the end of the 2009 season. So who else will or won't make the cut? It's time to find out as we present our top 9 catchers of all time, starting with number 9 on Prime 9.
Start with a trivia question. Which catcher in the history of baseball caught the most games for one team? Number 1 is Gabby Hartnett. 1,756 games he caught for the Chicago Cubs.
Gabby finished his career just 7 games shy of catching 1,800, a most impressive display of longevity and durability.
The thing that really stuck out for Hartnett's contemporaries was that he was able to catch over 100 games 12 years in a row.
But just being durable doesn't earn you 6 All-Star berths. Hartnett was a solid leader who led the Cubs to 4 National League pennants on the strength of his powerful bat.
Not only was Hartnett an all-star catcher, but he was hitting unlike any other catcher ever had. He was a long baller.
7 times he finished in the top 10 for slugging percentage in the National League.
This was unprecedented at the position.
Hartnett was the heart and soul of the Cubs franchise.
And he hit what still today is considered the most famous home run in Cubs history. It happened in the fading light of the 1938 season, with the Cubs and Pirates going head-to-head for the pennant.
Bottom of the 9th, Hartnett's up with 2 strikes, 2 outs, 5-5, darkness descending on Wrigley Field. And what happens? Gabby Hartnett hits the ball over the wall at Wrigley Field, the so-called Homer in the Gloman, which gives the Cubs a 6-5 victory, puts them into first place. They win again the next day, and they go on to win the pennant.
Gabby Hartnett, for all his brilliance behind the plate and all his many fine years, is remembered today for one swing of the bat. Like so many other baseball players, had that moment, and it is engraved forever.
Fisk became the first of the catchers of a new generation of receivers that were different than all those who came before him. Nobody had ever really seen catchers that were this tall, this angular, as Carlton Fisk was. He was statuesque behind the plate.
And Carlton's size made his constant presence back there all that more amazing. So how did Pudge keep going?
My longevity depended on a number of things. First and foremost is that my DNA allowed me to do it.
What a great throw, one of the finest catchers in baseball.
He could just do the wear and tear. I don't think anybody else has matched him in numbers or years of games called.
Fisk played for 24 seasons and caught 100 or more games in half of them.
He was big and strong, and he was durable. Behind the plate, he was better than most guys I've ever seen.
And they got it.
Offensively, he was one of the better offensive catchers in the game of baseball.
Forget about it, it's gone. A home run for Carlton Fisk.
You couldn't really fool him. He didn't have a big stride or anything, and he had real strong hands. So it was always a real tough out.
An 11-time All-Star, Fisk is second all-time among catchers with 844 extra base hits.
When the game was on the line, you find a way to hit your best pitch all the time. He found a way to hit your best pitch, and that's what made him what he was. clutch.
It's the 12th inning. Pat Darcy is pitching against Carlton Fisk.
There it goes, a long drive.
He's doing this, and I was already jumping up.
Home run! We will have a 7th game in the 1975 World Series.
Everybody who saw it can remember where they were, who they were with. It's one of those moments that's permanently branded in your brain.
No doubt the most memorable moments in a Hall of Fame career.
A hero to Red Sox fans, Carlton Fisk.
Welcome back to Prime 9, featuring the top 9 catchers of all time. You've heard the case for both 9 and 8. We now continue with number 7.
Roy, you're described as the key man in the Dodger fortunes, and they say as Campanella goes, so will the Dodgers go this year. Now, how do you feel?
Well, I feel fine, if that's the key.
Well, Campy must have been the key, for he helped lead the Brooklyn Dodgers to 5 National League pennants in the 50s.
When Roy Campanella was at the top of his game, I don't think there was ever a better catcher in baseball history. You have to say, what couldn't he do? Well, he simply did everything.
He had a magnificent arm, called the game beautifully, studied the game probably more than any catcher I'd ever seen.
He was a catcher who not only could manage a game and throw well, but he was a good hitter, and he could hit with power.
And with 2 out, Campanella blasts a home run, and Brooklyn leads 2-0.
An 8-time All-Star, Campanella and Yogi Berra are the only catchers ever to be named Most Valuable Player 3 times.
No question about it. He just excelled, and he excelled in all departments of the game.
Were it not for circumstances beyond his control at both the start and end of his career, Cappy's final numbers would have reached a whole nother level.
Roy Campanella, unfortunately, got to the major leagues late, like Jackie Robinson. But when he got to the major leagues, he was a man of much experience.
What people forget about Roy Campanella is he had been catching professionally since he was 15 years old. He had played on Negro League teams before the Dodgers could sign him in 1949.
He was a complete catcher, and it was just a tragedy when his career was interrupted prematurely without automobile accident.
That crash in January of '58 paralyzed Campanella, and his baseball days were over.
When that accident happened, it was hard to believe that, God, he's not going to be able to play baseball anymore.
Roy had touched fans everywhere, and in 1959, 93,000 of them turned out for an exhibition game to honor him.
And wherever you are, maybe you, in silent tribute to Campanella, can also say a prayer for his well-being.
It was a broken apart career, sadly. But at its best, there were no better catchers ever than Roy Campanella.
When you think about it, the Yankees have had phenomenal catchers in their history. Bill Dickey was the first of them, and he really set the standard.
And there's Bill Dickey. During his career with the Yankees, Bill has caught 100 or more games in 13 consecutive seasons, an all-time Major League record.
And he still, to this day, has the record for most games played by a Yankee catcher, 1,708 games. Dickey was a guy who could be counted on day after day, year after year.
An 11-time All-Star, Dickey owns the second highest career batting average for a catcher.
Bill Dickey fit perfectly into the Yankee slugging tradition. He totaled 202 homers.
Dickey was a magnificent hitter, and his peak years, from 36 to 39, each of those years he hit over 300. He hit more than 20 home runs. He had more than 100 RBIs.
Derringer hooks one over to Dickey, and again the apple takes a ride as Dickey's smash travels into the deep right center field bleachers, and the Yankees lead 2-0.
And just as commanding as his bat was this Hall of Famer's presence behind the plate.
As far as his arm is concerned, very few people stole bases on him because he was very accurate.
The way they described Dickey behind the plate was smooth. They said he made very few mistakes. Yankee pitchers would swear that Dickey was the smartest catcher ever.
In time, Bill became a Yankee coach and helped mold the next generation of catchers like Elston Howard and Yogi Berra.
Yogi was a very unpolished catcher when he first came to the Yankees, and Dickie was the guy who pulled him aside and, as Yogi famously said, learned him all his experience.
Dickie was often overshadowed by his more legendary teammates, but the fact is the Yankees won 7 World Series with him behind the plate.
And the Yankees have done it again.
Yankee success and Bill Dickey's presence behind the plate, he's part of it. They can't do it without him.
Welcome back to Prime 9, featuring the top 9 catchers of all time. Gabby Hartnett and the original Pudge, Carlton Fisk, got things started, followed by the great Roy Campanella and Bill Dickey, which means it's time for number 5.
Mickey Cochran was a fine all-around catcher.
He was known as a splendid receiver, strong-armed, and extremely tough.
Not only is Mickey a grand backstop, but Connie Mack has him up here near the head of the batting order because Mickey is one of the most scientific hitters on the club.
Cochran could hit, Cochran could run, and he could do both well enough to hit 3rd in the batting order, which was without precedent at that time.
Number 3, Mickey Cochran, the hittingest catcher in baseball.
A career batting average of .320 and a career on-base percentage of .419. And each of those figures is the highest in the history of baseball for anybody who's caught 1,000 or more games in their career.
Mickey was a Hall of Famer, a 2-time MVP, and a winner.
An inspirational leader, he sparked the Philadelphia A's and the Detroit Tigers to pennants.
He was the driving force in 3 Philadelphia Athletic pennant winners, 29, 30, 31.
Then he went to the Tigers and led them to 2 pennants as their player-manager in 1934-35.
Here's the base hit by Mickey Cochran that knocked in the winning run in the 6th game and gave the Tigers the World Championship.
So from 1929 to 35, he led teams to 5 World Series.
Unfortunately, after just 13 seasons, Mickey's playing days came to an abrupt end.
He was accidentally hit in the head at Yankee Stadium, and that ended his career. But while he was in the prime of that career, there were none better behind the plate than Cochran.
Prior to the '88 draft, Tommy Lasorda tried to stir up some interest in a lightly regarded prospect who was a family friend.
I got 5 of my friends who were connected with baseball teams to go out and see him play. And 5 of them called me back and said he can't do anything. So that's when I decided we'll draft him.
But even then, the Dodgers didn't take Mike Piazza until the 62nd round.
I think people were a little suspicious. They thought, Tommy's throwing a bone to a kid. He'll be here for a year, he'll be here for 2, and then he'll disappear.
All of a sudden, this rookie hits 35 homers, knocks in 112 runs, and bats .318.
Oh my goodness.
And that was just the beginning. In 1997, Mike had the greatest season ever by a catcher.
You see where that ball was? Over his head. Look where it went. And check his bat. Check his forearms.
He became one of the most feared hitters in baseball.
In my opinion, the best offensive catcher to ever play the game. He was extremely strong in his forearm and wrist, and literally could flick the ball over the wall.
Another 3-run home run.
He had a great knack of staying on the ball and knowing what he wanted to do in every at-bat.
Oh, did he tattoo that baseball?
He loved the big stage. It seemed like the bigger the moment, the better his performance.
Statistically, on the offensive side, just was at another level.
That was a monumental blast. Piazza has done it time and time again.
I recognize as a player, as his opponent, that I was in the presence of someone that would go down as one of the greatest hitting catchers of all time.
And although he took a beating, those numbers never wavered.
It was a personal pride that I took every year. I wanted to go out and catch.
Piazza blocking the plate.
It is a very physically demanding position.
When you're a big catcher like that, you're going to get a lot of foul tips and a lot of backswings hitting you in the head.
You have to take a beating back there, colliding with runners. For him to be able to do what he did offensively, it's remarkable.
As a catcher who was a big part of the lineup, I had to be healthy for my team. I had to be ready, I had to be in shape to maintain my productivity.
With 30 or more home runs, 9 different seasons, and 10 straight Silver Slugger awards, Mike's legacy is etched in stone.
He'll be remembered as the greatest catcher to swing a bat ever.
Gold Glove awards for catchers are often based on their arms, and Ivan Rodriguez has 13 of them.
You've got a force like Pudge behind the plate that's invaluable because your pitching staff basically doesn't have to worry about anybody stealing a base.
Pitches outside, the throw to second. In time, it works.
Pudge Rodriguez's arm by far was one of the best I've ever seen, and he basically just shut down the running game on other teams.
There he goes. Rodriguez in plenty of time.
If there was even a thought that that base runner was going to escape and try and steal second base, he didn't because Pudge Rodriguez was behind the plate.
He is just exceptional. He just made you very uneasy on every base that you were on. He could pick you off if you gave him an opportunity.
Pudge also has more hits, doubles, extra base hits, total bases, and runs scored than any catcher in history.
It's a triple for Pudge Rodriguez.
He stayed inside the baseball very well. He could drive the ball to right field.
Has a chance to be fair, and it is.
He could hit the ball down the left field line just as easy, and he could hit it over the wall just as easy.
Out of here! Home run, Pudge Rodriguez.
That's unbelievable.
He was an aggressive hitter with power. It was a very rare combination to have a guy that was that good defensively and an offensive force.
A 3-run bomb, and the man that carried this team on his back has done it again.
This 14-time All-Star led 3 different teams to the playoffs and won it all with Florida in 2003.
The Florida Marlins are the world champions.
In my generation, he was probably the best there was.
The lightning quick bat speed, the ability to drive the ball to all fields, steal 20 to 30 bags, hit 300 every year, and throw people out. He stands out as one of the guys that'll go down in history as the absolute total package when it comes to catchers.
We now return to Prime 9, where this week we're featuring the top 9 catchers of all time. These are men who we believe have excelled beyond all others, both at the plate and behind it. Backstops extraordinaire. So now it's time for number 1 and 2, the greatest catchers in the history of the game. We begin with number 2.
Lawrence Peter Berra, known to everyone as Yogi.
Yogi was quite a character off the field, and he wasn't much different behind the plate.
He was very, very funny. He'd ask you how you're doing. Did you go to the movie last night or whatever? He loved Ted Williams.
Oh, yeah, he made Ted Williams mad. Would you shut up, Yogi? I want to concentrate. But he tried to talk to everybody.
Best remembered today for his wit and wisdom, Berra was one of the best to ever play the game, a model of durability.
He caught so many ball games every season. There were day games after night games routinely. He caught doubleheaders.
What more could you ask for in Yogi Berra, the Yanks' indestructible catcher?
A 3-time MVP, Yogi was quite a hitter. Pitchers simply couldn't get the ball by him.
And Yogi slams the ball into the right field stands.
I can't imagine anybody swinging at some of the pitches that he swung at, and he hit them good. He hit them right on the button.
Berra connects and the ball goes high and far over the right field wall.
He hit anything. The ball could be on the ground, the ball could be 2 feet over his head, a foot off the plate, way inside.
A lot of people ask me, how come he hits so many bats? To me, they look good.
And it's another homer over the right center wall. It's 10 runs batted in for Yogi.
It's not just the number of home runs, RBIs, and his batting average. What was really important was the fact that he was the catcher on so many pennant-winning teams and World Series-winning teams.
And the Yankees are champions. And look at Berra, piggyback riding Bob Cazala.
He played in 14 World Series out of 17 years. And then the next year, he managed the Yankees and got them to the World Series again.
With a ring for every finger, Yogi is the game's winningest player.
He was just an excellent all-around catcher, and his success puts him into the rank of one of the great catchers of all time.
But that honor goes to Hall of Fame legend Johnny Bench. Possessed with an intimidating throwing arm, no one was better behind the plate than this two-time MVP, and he changed the very nature of the game.
John Bench revolutionized the game two ways. Number one, he really became the first prominent catcher to catch one-handed and not two-handed.
Catch the ball as a one-handed catcher. I have to bring it up to my and then throw straight over the top and come down.
No one guns them down better than Bench.
Number two, his footwork. I had never seen catchers' feet move so quickly when they would explode out of the box and throw down to second base.
There we go. Bench's throw right on the money. Look at that kid throw.
Nobody could equal Johnny Bench, his ability defensively, and the key was his ability to throw would-be base stealers out.
It's the nearest thing to suicide to run on the kid from Oklahoma.
And then there was his bat. The 14-time All-Star hit 389 home runs and finished with almost 1,400 RBIs.
Johnny had outstanding power. Johnny could take that ball on the inside the plate and snatch it out of left field.
Left center field. This one could be extra bases.
He could also take that pitch away and drive it to right.
Bench hits an opposite field double.
Well, it was enough as a defensive catcher what he did for the team, but it was like an added bonus to have a guy like Johnny Bench in the middle of your lineup being an integral part of the Big Red Machine.
With Bench behind the plate, the Reds won 4 pennants and captured 2 World Series titles.
Johnny Bench comes back in flying red colors to bring his team closer towards a red October sweep.
Bench was the glue that kept that team together.
He was very smart, kept everybody in line, so the manager, Sparky Anderson, really didn't have to do much in the way of discipline.
Sit over here with Jonathan. Sit over here. Jonathan, he's smart.
There have been many great catchers in Major League history, but there is only one, Johnny Bench.
If you have to pick at every position one great one, Bench is the greatest catcher that ever lived and ever will live.
I don't think anybody has ever approached the ability to play the game behind the plate the way he did.
He was just unbelievable, the best catcher that I ever saw.
Although Johnny is considered the benchmark for catchers in the majors, he may not be the greatest catcher to ever play the game.
Josh Gibson, in my opinion, the best hitting catcher I have ever seen.
During his time in the Negro Leagues and on barnstorming tours, this Hall of Famer hit, by some accounts, nearly 800 home runs.
I am convinced that if Josh Gibson had been playing in the major leagues, could very easily have broken Babe Ruth's 60 home run record.
Gibson was often referred to as the Black Babe Ruth. Those who got to see both men play oftentimes considered Ruth the White Josh Gibson. That's our Prime 9. What's yours?